Hi there, welcome, and thank you for joining me for today's presentation. I am so happy to have you here, and I'm happy that you found my website and you found this resource and you thought it was a good topic and you were curious about it, so you purchased it, and here you are. So thank you so much for joining me today as we venture into talking about 20 guaranteed ways to enhance your romantic relationship. This is so important. So many people are talking about romance and their partnerships. However they look, I'm happy that you're here, and I'm hopeful and know that this presentation will bring you so much joy, so much insight, and I'm super excited to get started with you. Practice nonverbal communication. A lot of how we talk isn't using words, and it can be tough for your partner when you're far away physically. Sometimes you can't help being apart because of responsibilities, but being close to your partner matters. Some examples of nonverbal communication include holding their hand, sitting close to them, looking them in their eyes, and gentle touches. A lot of our communication is nonverbal. A simple look at your partner, a wink, any kind of physical touch. I love in my couples therapy and couples relationship coaching, I talk a lot about the different ways and the different levels of intimacy. Most people don't realize that there's more levels of intimacy. Have you ever heard of like experimental intimacy, spiritual intimacy, right? We hear about the sexual intimacy and the non-sexual intimacy, but there's so many different types. And nonverbal communication is one of those types as well. So you want to make sure that you're utilizing that. Think about your partner's love languages. Some people have a physical touch love language, and that can literally be just laying on each other, snuggling, a hand on their shoulder, a back rub, right? A passionate kiss or a gentle kiss. There are so many options. So think about how often are you practicing your nonverbal communication with your partner, and what could you potentially do differently? Hopefully during this presentation you pause it at meaningful moments and that you can make a list of different things that work well for you. And I want you to think about that and see how this impacts you. Another but important and underrated way of communicating with our partners is eye contact. A lot of us are so busy doing so many things. We're multitaskers. So when it comes to nonverbal communication, if your partner is talking to you about something, pausing whatever you're doing, sitting your phone down, and looking them in the eye is so important and so impactful. Giving them your undivided attention can be extremely useful for the different things that a couple and a partnership will go through. I think it's so important. Our facial expressions can give clues about how the person is feeling. A smile, a frown, a disapproval. It's so important. Our body language when we're talking to people and when we're talking to our partner. Are we slumped down? Are we sitting straight up? Is our hand on their leg or their shoulder? Nonverbal communication is so important. It creates a closeness and it increases our understanding of other people. It's so important to think about how we're doing this. Fight fair. Couples will fight. If you're here and you think that your relationship won't have arguments or fights, I'm sorry to tell you that ain't true. Arguments can happen in any relationship, and not having arguments doesn't mean your relationship is better. What really matters is how we deal with disagreements and fix things after an argument. For example, if one person says hurtful things while the other tries to calm things down, it can make finding a solution much harder. Some crucial tips for being a fair partner in a fight include recognizing your limits in a fight, developing fair fighting rules, and learning how to deal with relationship conflict. I talk so much about fighting fair. Many people haven't heard that phrasing before. And I like to say that it's a gentle way to interact with our partners. We are going to have situations that come up where we disagree, and maybe even moments where it's a little bit heated. As long as there's no disrespect or abuse, right? This is where we draw the line. It's okay to fight fair. It's so important to know that relationships have friction. That is the nature of being with another person. And to say that we won't have that is not true. I've been doing this over 15 years as a professional, and I've lived a long life on this earth with different partnerships, and I know all to be true that you will have disagreements, you will have moments where you do need to fight fair. Establish those rules in your relationship. Sometimes I meet with couples literally just to establish how they communicate and how they will argue and how they will problem solve. If that's something you're interested in, please reach out to me. But this is so important. I even have a whole sheet on how do you fight fair, right? How do we fight fair with our partner so that we accomplish a goal, we get out our opinions that can totally still be different, but we're able to move through the relationship effectively. I like to say a really important way to gauge a relationship and their success or longevity is the ability to have a rupture and then a repair. So rupture is something happens in the relationship that like causes us to pause or we have a disagreement. How quickly are we able to repair that relationship? Is it days and weeks of passive aggressiveness? Or is it like, okay, I go to my corner for 5 minutes, you go to your corner for 5 minutes, and then we come back together and we try to find a solution, or we agree to table this. We agree to let this one sit for a little bit. We agree to revisit it, or we agree to say, hey, we're not going to solve this and it's not that important because we love each other or we care deeply for one another and we can just let this go. Sometimes easier said than done, but just as necessary.